Good morning, class. Welcome to Homeroom with Unk and Market Monk. Morning, P. How's your week?
Really good. Just had a lot of quick hitters. Haven't really trusted much to hold, so been mostly doing that. Um, really good in the ER room. It keeps doing pretty well. So um, yeah, that's pretty much it for me this week.
It's not a the, the main account not great this week. I actually did a really good job over the last few weeks of taking profit and things. What up, Tesla? Um,
Yeah,
and Square XYZ, whatever we're gonna call it nowadays, stuff like that. Um, but even what I got left, still kind of didn't look great in the account this week. With you though, a lot of quick hitters off of levels, just cup fills, nothing to write home about. Um, More just staying active in the market this week
yeah,
was important. It's, well, I mean, we'll get into it a little bit later, but if you just showed up last week and were like, all right, now the time's to trade. I'm gonna get going
yeah,
here. Not a good week for you. So, big picture still okay. I mean, nothing's changed, especially when you get into SPY. That 580, 610 we talked about. We're just living in it.
yeah,
Washing around people, washing around plays. So, couple good ads though towards the end of the week. Nothing like no home runs this week. We're in a 1-1 game in the sixth inning type thing last week. So, and I really think kind of transition a little bit. Kind of think that's what I was talking about. With your sizing, you got to know when to turn it all on and when to scale it back a significant amount and just be able to weather the storm and the market conditions and not constantly trade the same way every day, all day, no matter the conditions. And like anything, I like to be a little early on that and think I did a great job and still kind of taking one on the chin. Um, Last week. Which, if you didn't take one on the chin last week, let me know what you did because you're lucky.
yeah. No, right. I mean, there's a lot of stuff that I said. I think 3 weeks ago or so, I posted that you have to decide what you're going to do with some of the positions from good entries if we pull back 10-15% a week. And that's sort of what's been happening. And some do it in a day, but there's things like I got fully out of lemonade on that drop. I had that from way back.
Really?
I'm
Wow.
fine with that.
Wow.
I'll just let that go. But yeah, I mean, so the free shares I have left in a bunch of things are
Yeah.
getting sold off,
Yeah.
um, and uh, and that's fine because I mean if that's happening, that means they're probably going to reset somewhere, and we'll read it again, um, fresh flow read. A lot of stuff. Took one on the chin with solar. I mean, no other way to say it. But still, just okay with what's going on there, but yeah, I mean the real estate. I mentioned I thought they kind of kicked the can down the road again. I think we'll talk about that with some individual names. So a lot of that going on. Um, the thesis still really strong and intact with energy to me, in
Hmm.
oil, natural gas, and metals too. So yeah, I mean I think people throw around the term crash. It's just absurd for where we're at to say that, just to say it's a crash. But I'm
Crash
sure it
on the
feels that way to
crash
the
on the
highly
1 minute.
leveraged people.
Crash on
Yeah,
the one
right.
minute. um,
Yeah,
yeah, it for me when things are going south. I almost look at it like a sports coach. Like, man, we practiced all week. We're running our
yeah,
plays. Why are we getting beat? And you figure, oh well, shit, they're running cover two. We're not able to pass into this. We better
right,
start
right.
running the ball a little bit. So I just kind of took more of that. I don't try to. I try to stay in the middle. I talked about it maybe a week or two ago about the highs being too high and the lows being too low, and staying in the middle is just good for your mental and trading overall. And
Yeah,
it's I still like the big three for us, or for me, I guess it's more for me, but I got it from us is, restaurants, casinos, and real estate, and some of those offered decent entries last week. But stuff like
Yeah.
the gold, silver, oil, all that stuff, they the thing that I came up with, that Trump or any Republican president, you usually get the spikes and all that stuff, right? Like they're pro
Yeah.
those things, and um, he's just cutting money and worried about the other things. And the simplest like one liner I could come up with is, what's bullish when the Epstein list drops? I mean, what's that going to make
Yeah.
bullish? So there's just
Right.
not that
Right.
there's not that attention to the regular stuff that the market is used to. Market's very impatient. Market was a little overextended. Um,
Yeah.
we're cutting money. We're not spending money. We got the personal expenditures last week that were lowest in, I think it was 4 or 5 years, of people just actually spending money. So there's not that flow that you normally see with the first administration. Although we did, you know, let's say from October to November, get that run instead of getting that run March, April, May like you normally do after the election. But market's just impatient right now, and I think we'll continue to be there. Um,
Yeah.
individual names are going to react differently, but as we said with Spy, we're just going to live in this channel for a while.
Yeah. We are. And then so what I look for, and I'll throw a freebie out for people, but within the like living within that channel, the stocks that drop, that overstep that,
Hmm.
and reach a kind of oversold level. And I look at it like just kind of basic TA here. This is Google. Um, it hits this spot in RSI on the daily and doesn't really last down there. And you can see, I mean, the way the trend has gone over, whatever. But what I look for is for flow to step in, and especially when we get into the 160s, I'm like, okay, uh, I'm fine adding here. Our line on Google, or my line, was way below that, but that's probably, it's going to hit the 160 somewhere, probably, the higher low thing. And in terms of being investing, I think you're fine with Google down here, a little lower. And I look for things like that. A lot of the individual names that everybody wants to pile in on are not really where you want to be. You don't want to be in the worst performer in a sector and think you're getting a bargain.
Yes.
Um, that that's not how you want to do it. You want to get, the stock that was overheated, pulls back. They pull it back a little too much, and the flow flips, and here we go. So I'm on the lookout for that. I don't think we're quite there yet, but I mentioned SQQQ last week. I mentioned that thing maybe 3 times a year lately. So I saw the possibility of that, and there was an opportunity there for people to cover their ass a bit if they wanted that one. But yeah, I'm kind of with you. I don't really think we get anything major or catastrophic in the indices. When I'm looking at mega caps, I just look at the ones that, where are they in relation to Spy, and like what's it going to take for them to find some kind of equilibrium. So that was a name that came to mind on that kind of pattern.
Yeah, no, and I think secondary brought up the Google, and I think it was Microsoft. I could be wrong, but it was two of the big boys like a week ago, and said, "Hey, it's a good time to buy." And 100%, it was a good time to buy then. Still a good time to buy now. But if you're planting your flag, and any planting a flag right now is probably getting destroyed if it's not a momentum or a news play. And
Oh yeah,
as quick as you plant your flag is probably as quick as you need to start taking profit. Having a little more um, nuances in your buys and plans, like, all right, this is where I want to go full. I think always having a this is where I want to go full number helps you out a little bit more than this one drop number, and I'm just gonna buy here. And we're seeing that on
yeah,
several
yeah,
plays. And that, if you can get that down, and then you can get sizing down, especially on the smalls. We're just coming off of a small ER, and I mean I noticed it real early, but they could be in line. They could everything could be good, maybe guidance even in line, and they're just dropping because of the run they just had, not necessarily because the company's bad or anything. Open comes to mind for
Yeah.
me. Like we're just getting washed around in open and have been for a while. So if you have, I mean, I'll just throw numbers out there. If you have, because for me it works, but if you have 10,000 shares of open and you're 13K in, that thing is moving your account like crazy. If you have 1,000
Yeah.
shares of open, you're not going to worry about it as much, and that might only be 100 to 250 for the regular guy, or maybe 50 to 200 for the regular guy. But figuring that out is how you are going to win in the smaller names or the longer range theses. Same with rig. Rig's the same way.
Yeah.
If you have too many of them shares and it's a big portion of your account, yeah, you're just gonna get kind of washed around in this environment and not feel good about where you are. So not planting flags, scaling out at the top, and getting that sizing right for the overall is just where it's at. And it's closing every trade green in retrospect. Um, after you get those ups and downs for a while, it starts just to become, let's just do that instead. Because then you just win a little bit more, and as I haven't said in a while, but man, you can always re-enter. You can always re-enter a play.
Yes. Yeah. Right. And that's the thing. I'm always, I enjoy talking through people's trades with them, their plans, but a lot of times those conversations reach a point. It's like, well, I'm still up. I'm up 15% on this still, but I'm just not sure, what to do, when to sell, when to scale out, whatever. And I'm like, you could just sell it all and you're up, you can take your 15% and call it good. And then you don't have to worry about it. You can just put your time into something else. So, I think if you're, a lot of times you got to listen to yourself. If you're kind of vacillating back and forth and don't, you got that uncertainty, um, the path to what you should probably do is right there in front of you. Just put the mental capital, somewhere else. I mean, especially on these ones that are green, you're, going into a weekend. I mean, who the hell knows what, news can drop over the weekend that can send things down, and those weekend drops don't last, but it's not a great place to be for something you're holding to be, to nuke 6% pre-market, and then you're just sort of wondering. So yeah, I think stepping away from some, sizing down, all that is definitely appropriate right now.
Yeah, it's to break out another one of the classics. And when you kind of talk through the mentality right there, simple rule for me, man. If it's not a hell yeah, it's a no.
Yeah.
And that's the same thing
Right.
with holding a position. If you're not like hell yeah, I'm holding this, and this is what I'm gonna do, then it's a no. And um, it's hard. I mean, I'm trying to sell people on two trades right now in general, but it's hard to move the stop loss up, for protection and for mental protection. I guess that's it, for just to
Yeah.
save your mental, because you're not going to high point when you do that. I get it, um, but you're gonna still close every trade green, and it's repeating the process that wins here versus that one home run play.
Yeah.
It's not, you don't really build accounts like that. Um, you're going to build account on a long swing with a good thesis. I mean, if you got into Lilly, you bought some shares of Lilly when you started talking about it, bought some shares of Costco when you started talking about it, bought some shares of Tesla when I told you to, you're fine.
Yeah.
You are completely fine, and that's what's going to create a really good account. If you're just holding on to stuff, um, that has failed two times and just makes it back to the level. I think United, the CEO ones like that with that 530. Yeah, you're just gonna get washed around. So kind of, you have to finesse it a little bit, so to speak, and
Yeah.
be open to being wrong, and be opening to pivot. And I used to say, being wrong fast is a skill. Versus versus the guys on Twitter that are still talking about, let's just buy more COSK right here, versus those guys.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So Yeah, but again, it's healthy. You learn more in these cycles um,
Yeah.
than you do in the straight up market. And to be honest, we're not even really in a bear or downtrend market. We're just in some sideways consolidation that we've seen at the first of the year. So um, yeah, no, when you enter the snow game, it's going to be cold sometimes, and you got to just know how
Yeah,
to play.
exactly.
You got to know how to play that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
Yes.
Go ahead.
Oh, so one of the things I'm kind of noticing, what up here, get off the 5 minute. All right. So, some guys at cigar bar I go to were saying like, "Hey, what's up with this gold collapse?" And I look at it and it's like, it's like right here. So, the metals, did kind of silver really didn't do anything, but yeah, gold had a little bit of a drop, and I think it's I wouldn't necessarily look for like people that when they see something like this, are like, well, what's the news? I don't think there's any news. I mean, I just think you know, it was overheated. It pulls back, and we kind of go from here. But it is a good time to take a look at what miners you follow are doing in relation to this. I know I read flow in relation to this, and through this entire trend here, things were pretty quiet in flow because they already were set up. But a move like this over a couple of days, they start to reposition, and so it kind of stirs things up, and you want that if you're a trader, shakes up some volatility, and here we go. So yeah, so that was one that came to mind, and I don't know if you see gold miners kind of in some still in some pretty good spots, or what your thinking is with that.
Sure, the gold's still up 10% for my 10-15% for my entry. That's a hell yeah for me still.
Yeah,
Um,
right, right.
you kind of throw it back to there. That was one that I had to make that
Yeah,
decision on. Last week, that was one of my big spots was miners that we're gonna get some pullback. So that's when you're gonna want to buy, watch some levels. The tape wasn't great last week, so I didn't buy a ton, but I definitely got some starters in some of the miners. Like HL, Neem, stuff like that. Um,
yeah.
a bigger picture, and I did one of my notes this week, so I'm glad we kind of got here early. But I got to read my writing here. Um, does the tariff stuff, is it's flat tax tariff or just the constant changes in tariffs is that causing pullback or uncertainty in the commodities and um, as a not a commodity trader, except for with
Yeah,
you, I'm kind of unaware on what really moves the sectors well. Um,
right.
so I just think that again that uncertainty, the lack of investment, no drill baby drill, even though that's oil. We're just
Hmm.
not we're they don't know the rules they're going to play by, and that coupled with we're not spending a lot of money for not necessarily manufacturing but industrial projects um, is kind of just giving a pullback after a really good run over the last 4 months. If you pull up any larger time frame, it's like, oh, okay, we're not talking October lows yet. We're just not.
Yeah.
So until there, I don't really like to say the sky is falling, but there's definitely it feels like the tariffs are are causing some uncertainty in the boring stuff.
Yeah, I mean, especially some individual names. Copper and aluminum haven't really reacted to tariff news, significantly. They're just like copper's just sort of hanging out around 450. Could definitely, revisit four. It's kind of at a decision point for that. Going to five or going to four. It's uh, not a lot of direction yet right now. I mean, the trend is pretty strong, but we could see one more pullback, I think. And then natural gas, still to me, it parking itself and testing four over and over again, I think is pretty bullish. So um, I'm feeling a little better about natural gas than oil, which is why I like the combo stocks there. Oil is keeps showing up in my flow reads. It's definitely in a pretty good spot for a bounce. I just don't really see this breaking down like under 60 or anything like that. So I think if you got the time, scaling into some oil, probably is going to be pretty good here.
Yeah, I like the Buffett one for sure, especially at where we're at. Anything below 50. The only thing scares me on oil is that's the one thing they have said directionally. Like if we can bring down gas prices, um, that'll help. That will help inflation overall because you
Yeah,
deliver shit on a truck, and it's the only thing I don't like there. But the rest of them, like silver, as you're going through them, silver's not 26. I mean, it's not even close. It's just hasn't really related to some of the smaller names, or their profit line, I guess. So yeah, it's just a
yeah.
slower moving train. The other point I had on commodities since we got here early is, our question is, I mean, is how bullish is a peace deal for stuff like this? Just to get if we do get a peace deal next week, will not only it lift commodities but the rest of the stocks, but definitely commodities since that's kind of on the table with the peace deal. We try to get Zelensky over here, strong arm him
Yeah.
for a minerals and materials deal, and that just didn't happen. So I'm kind of curious if that's part of it, um, or if it's just again that hangout and uncertainty of that we're having in the market. Um, is not a good thing for individual names, but fine for commodities. Almost like Bitcoin there for a while, right? Like where it was,
Yeah.
the charts weren't matching the move, and they didn't match the move. We're kind of seeing that with commodities. So I follow your lead there for the most part, and I do tend to know that those are going to be bigger thesis, not necessarily news plays. Um,
Right.
but it's as long as they're like not there's a few that I don't like, and individual names because the chart has kind of fell a little bit. But most of the stuff is pretty darn stable for being in an uncertain situation.
Yes, and so I look at when the expirations in some of these contracts, and I mean some are as far out as 2027. So it's it's gonna it's a sector that's gonna take some patience. I mean, you just don't buy it and say, well, why hasn't this moved? And I think people, I get questions sometimes. Why bother with these long swings like that take all this time, and when you can just hop in for 5 minutes and make $200. It's much less stressful. I mean, that's just the only
Yeah,
reason. I mean, it's you can have a great win rate with the quick hitters, but like it takes a lot of attention, focus. Um, you can't linger in those. So I, a long time ago, learned that like I like to have a big idea about something and find a way to let it play out and use that work. And so we're still in that mode. We're in the midst of it with gold, silver, and it's what I'm looking at for oil as well. So I do think that any kind of like a peace deal is going to clarify natural gas, especially.
yes,
I think that there's a lot of really artificial stuff going on with natural gas prices, and that's beginning to break a bit. I mean, that's why you see it. That's why you see it lingering around four, or not in two and change anymore. Is they're sort of waiting on what's going to happen there. So yeah, I think it's a good way to protect your account to be in some of this the big thesis plays. But yeah, I will say I agree with you that being selective about the individual names is really important. It's not full send sector kind of deal. You know, there's the charts, and then individual miners. Some have better situations than others, and you start to learn that when you get into that sector too.
Yeah, that the point you made about the $200 quick hitters and stuff. I've done all that. I've tried that. That's real. I mean, 2020 market was really great for that.
Yeah,
Even then, though, for me, I learned during that kind of market, you're still kind of two steps forward, one steps back in a good market, and then you're one step forward, two steps back in a sideways or bad market. Or I mean, and that's the best case scenario in those plays. It's hard to get the win rate when you're doing that. At least from the share side, um, I
yeah,
would much rather just have my account grinding up slowly but surely. Making progress every week, and then mix a little bit of that in, and that's something I learned back then. Um, for me, my version of starting over every day was that, because you got to find a fresh setup every day. You're doing the news or trade ideas every day, looking for the momentum. You're wondering if you're first all the time. Well, I'd rather just have a bigger thesis and be first that way, and kind of I
yeah,
guess, slower motion, so to speak. But again, you don't have those two steps forward, one steps back, or where a bad week really just wipes out a month. And that for me was the reason that I chose swing trading more than the aggressive day trading. I mean, if it's there, you take it, um,
hmm
but just a little more selective, extra checks, or however you want to put it, and or you stay on a play and you do a way better job at this than me. Like, I do it maybe for like a week or 3 days. You've done it for 2.5 years with coin, but you just stay on the winners and
yeah.
stuff that you can read that gives you tradable range if you want to do that. So kind of the same fishing hole versus a brand new stock that you've never heard of that just happened to make news today, or something like that. That
Yeah.
AAFI, I think, was the last one, or FFAI, I forget, but that was the last like really momentum play I played. And they're just not an everyday thing, where swing trading is an everyday thing, or you can be active every day and kind of manage your position. So it just depends on what you're built for, but no matter what you're doing, you want your account to grind up versus two steps forward, one step back. That for me is a recipe for disaster.
Yeah, definitely. And one thing I've noticed with I guess the approach to like newer stuff, like I'll usually around earnings, I'll see one that I hadn't really followed that closely, and so then you have the earnings thing, and then a day or two after. I usually don't try to stick around in those, but I kind of monitor them, and then maybe you know come back to them because it's I don't have that familiarity. They shake up some kind of new range, and then it takes time for that to set up. I think it's a mistake to like FTAI was this way. Like I had it on earnings, did well, and then a day or two later is fine. But it was months before I went back to that one and kind of circled back around. So it takes time to, I guess, sort of build trust with some of these. Whereas, like you said, when we get in conditions like this, I just go back to Coin, MSTR, and those are the ones that um, that show up in my notes most often, or even something like FedEx has kind of been a reliable one for me. So I'll pop back in there, but yeah, constantly chasing the new hottest one is definitely a recipe for disaster, especially in the option world. If you get fresh attention on something, those call sellers are like sharks. They just swarm around all these retail people, buying up contracts, and then they can easily move the stock around, shake them out, and it's just a mess. So I like the quiet, I like the familiar, and that's kind of where I linger.
Yeah, when we just came off a market, and I was talking about it in the room there probably a month ago, but we just came off a market that, like, you get three or four 20 percenters a day, in names that we talked about. Like that was the thing. Like, oh look, this is up
Yeah.
20% today, 20% today. And now you're getting, if you're getting a 20% runner, it's after in a name we were talked about. Now it's usually after a 5 to 10% pullback, the previous
Yeah.
2 or 3 days. So um, yeah, just kind of knowing the conditions. So uh, the point I want to get across, I'll just say it as clear as I can, is in those conditions, you got to be fine with 10, 15%. You know, the market's just not offering that 100% grinder right now in most cases. And
Yeah.
you have to adjust. And for me, that's where it, the I'll say it again, the people that are planting flags, you're going to get wrecked. You're just going to get wrecked. You got to have some more nuance to it. You got to have a couple levels that you're going to buy and then have the targets that you're going to sell at. And sometimes that first sell target is where you first bought at. Like you're
Yeah.
just getting rid of like because you put you finessed the chart and you played that pullback and you scaled in a little bit and it popped up to your level and you readjust and we played that market for years, the to it not through it market,
Yeah.
and you had to just buy red and then take profit quickly, and we're just seeing that on a smaller scale because we are technically still in an uptrend. We still haven't touched the 50 on the weekly on SPY. It's catching up though, um, and there's nothing in the horizon for me outside of the peace deal that really says, hey, we're going to turn this on and go. Inflation kind of is what it is. The interest rates are kind of what they are. It's going to take a lot of work it's going to take a lot of work they're not doing to get us back into a euphoria market. Or we're going to pull back enough to where stocks are a good deal in people's eyes. And then the
Yeah.
stories start to generate a little bit. So, yeah, I mean, winter's cold, lasts a couple months. Um, it's not 2020, so it's not a bearish market, but it's not an easy trading market right now.
No, it's definitely not, and it's not easy to short either. Um,
Yeah.
you end up chasing, and don't chase puts is like the top rule that I have. I mean, I think chasing calls is bad too, but you tend to do a little better doing that than chasing puts. It's just how it goes. Stocks want to go up. You can catch the momentum, but yeah, a bearish momentum trader is really a bad situation. Wanted to I'm gonna make you talk crypto a bit,
Okay.
and then we will in
Well,
the next session too.
how about them levels?
So yeah, so we got the breakdown in under 80,000, very very quick.
Yeah, we got all of it.
I still think something like 72's possible, but there's some relief here, and I put my sector focus up before close, let people know where my head was at with that. That I thought we were going to get some crypto relief over the weekend. Still under 90, nothing too crazy, but it's setting up pretty well to open the week, unless Asia wants to dump everything overnight, which certainly can happen with crypto. But I'm definitely, I've been interested on the option side on you know these for a while. Um, Coin, MSTR. Uh, I've been doing some hedge downside trades here and there, kind of backing out of shorting these for now because I do think that we could see some relief. I still think big picture with crypto, there's no alt season. I think the meme coin narrative is beginning to die, which I actually think could be good for Bitcoin. You're not seeing that attention, and the market cap on those pump fund meme coins is dying. This is what we saw with the NFTs. So to me, there's only one game in town. It's Bitcoin, and I'm seeing some relief. So I don't know what your take is.
No. First, I want to point out February 20th, 99K, almost. It was 99K and a half. 99,475 was your top.
Yep.
Um, February 27th, so a week later, 78 and 200. There's your move that I was talking about. I did not think it was going to happen that quick, but I knew
Yeah.
we would reject 100 in some fashion. I hate that I'm doing TA on Bitcoin. I'm just gonna say that. I hate you for that. Um, um, but we did kind of come back to the 200 on the daily over there, and I don't think it's bullish. I mean like if this thing gets to 94, people are gonna be like we're back, and it's probably gonna reject that again, and you're just gonna
Yeah.
make lower highs and lower lows. I just what's odd, not odd or curious to me, I guess, is that how fast it is. It's pretty darn quick. Like, um,
Yeah.
kind of rotate to
For
your
something with the market cap this big, it is
yeah.
very quick. Yeah.
Something it makes your gold is gonna do better than Bitcoin thesis look really good. Because
Yeah.
you say 72. I think there might even be more downside in that, but we're gonna get washed around here with lower highs and lower lows for a while. The the I don't trade coins at all. I don't have a
Yeah.
Sol or a Coinbase or a FTX account if that's still a thing. um, but I do trade the miners, and I said it a few weeks ago. Like we're gonna trade Mara from 11 to 15, and well, that trade was 11. I would think that trade was 12 to 15. So they're there.
Yeah.
I like those quick hitters if you're familiar with the charts, but for me, the sector itself is just very, very unhealthy, especially with what's still going on with the North Korea Ethereum stuff. Not that I
Yeah.
stay way up to date with it, but I'll reiterate what we've said before, just because I think it's most important. But when this shit came out, I mean, if you're an early adopter, I get it, you love it, you're doing good. You're probably out on your boat or whatever. But at this stage in the game, the things that crypto were supposed to be, they're not. It ain't
Yeah.
safe. It ain't quick, and it's not. Um, you not and
Anonymous.
yeah, there's no anonymity to
Yeah.
it. Um,
Right.
that's why I hang out with the English professor. I don't know big words well, but like those things are just not there at all. So until we get my favorite coin of all, the American Bald Eagle US of A mega coin, that's backed
Yeah.
just like stocks. I just don't see a lot of goodness long term in the sector. Um, Tradable though, I mean anything
It,
that oversells. I mean, what's my ER like standard for ER? Like just read the report. If it
yeah.
oversells and it doesn't match, buy some. Just play the retrace. So you got to understand a retrace trade versus a momentum trade versus a long swing, and a lot of retrace plays probably going to come up in that sector. Um, I would never hold and hope though. That's just fill your cup
Do you know?
for me.
Do you know what that so that number you called out for rejection, that 94, 95K,
Hmm.
do you know what that number, the significance of that number to Bitcoin right now?
No clue.
That's how much it costs to mine a Bitcoin.
Oh yeah, you're right. Yep. Yep.
So it when you linger under that number, uh, those miners, tend to, there's volatility there, but they tend to suffer and they hit a downtrend and or accelerate a downtrend in the case of some of those. So yeah, I mean, I think your the oversold pops are what you're after. The coin is a little different because I think what's going to happen with coin is we're going to revisit a lot of option pivots, not necessarily big levels or anything, but I can read that, and so I'll just keep reading that, and it's easier to read that stuff on coin down here than it is at 260 or 280 or something like that, where it doesn't have as much history. So yeah, so I'm looking forward to that. But
Someone
yeah, I
asked.
mean,
Go ahead.
minor relief rally. That's
Some
my big thesis for
someone
this
asked me
week.
like a week ago, "What's a good buy on coin?" That might have been with the Google conversation, and I was
Yeah,
like, like 165. Like, what do you mean? What's a
yeah,
good
yeah,
buy on coin? And really, the reason I pulled that even out of my head is, it does make sense for a higher low on the chart. It's about 100% from our level, so you fib guys should love that. But I mean, that's where I'm going to start watching it, kind of in no man's land currently on that chart. And um, yeah, I mean, are they more of a service where they probably make it? Sure, sure, but like anything, it's going to have ups and downs, and it just ran really, really hot. Um, so tradable again, like you said, tradable range, but they're quick hitters.
Yeah.
No, I had the note, but Bitcoin kind of woke up a little bit. What happens when they're 20K under the miners, right, on the coin when we were at
Yeah.
70 and it's costing them 92, like yeah, that can't be good life. Do they just shut their machines down? I mean, what? I mean,
Yeah. I
how
mean,
does that
so
work?
the well-run miners own a lot of Bitcoin, and so that gives them more flexibility than the ones that don't. So that's why Hut's better than CLSK or pick one. So yeah, no, I think it's you get back into the are we going to keep the lights on kind of deal, and the I don't think we'll see, like with Mara, the real despair that we that was there when we originally got back in all those.
That's
But
the same as coin though. When you said Mara, it was three something.
Yeah,
So six would
yeah,
be 100%, but you have to have
yep.
that in your head that it's not probably the 10 to 17 channel. Will there be trades? Will there be pops? Sure, but um, their cup fills for me, P. Like, and it's hard to come off a market where you're making 100%ers on just stupid stuff, like real easy 100%ers, and now you got to take 10 to 20%.
Yeah, absolutely. And I don't think that there's so when you look at the things that you know like optimism about the future and technology, where is that kind of trade? And I still think that I think quantum will have a next chapter that is better than the next chapter of crypto. That the
Sure.
reset there and the move up.
Mm-hmm.
I think space
AI stocks.
is
Yeah.
you know yeah, and then AI hits both of those. Quantum and space. There's AI things there. Robotics, like that kind of stuff is more exciting than um, than crypto. With I think people still see crypto as a kind of subculture rather than something with a lot of utility.
Do you? I gotta. I mean, it's just a through our conversation, I come up with things, but I think the best thing that could happen to the crypto stocks, and tell me if I'm wrong here, because you definitely are more informed than me on the nuts and the bolts. But is them turning to an AI, since they're big computer, right? Like that's what they are. They're just
Yeah.
computers. Like them turning to an AI or a quantum angle with what they have. Um, that kind of pivot from a miner. I think
Yeah.
it's
Right.
how
And
you
so
come
there
out the
are
other side.
there's if you look at, well, a company like Iren, all their if you go to their investor relations page and all that stuff, they rebranded themselves as that data centers that happen to mine some crypto, but the all that equipment, um, the server farms, like all that stuff, yeah, absolutely can be repurposed. And um, yes, I mean, crypto mining has a shelf life. You can always find more oil, and it gets more expensive to access it. You got to develop new technology to access it. The way Bitcoin is built, there is a finite. Remember how they used to say, like, oh, we're going to run out of fossil fuels.
Yes.
We're not going to run out of fossil fuels, but they get harder to access. But they're still out there. There's tons of untapped resources with that. But Bitcoin, I mean, it has a shelf life. It gets harder and harder to mine. Yes, I mean the final coin isn't going to be mined for 150 years or something like that. But the percent that's left, it gets so difficult that there's not a great business model for that. And it already is a stressed kind of business, which is why I don't think people understand what the halving is.
Yeah.
You know, when they talk about it being this big bullish thing, it it's making it, the rewards are cut in half, and so it gets harder and harder to survive. So that they have to do something. And I agree that the smart ones will pivot. And Bitcoin's gone up about over 2% since we've been talking. So bought that stuff on Friday. You might be all right. Just saying.
It's usually how, yeah, you did drop that one before the bell, and I was like, yeah,
Yeah,
that's not random.
yeah, yeah.
um, if I got Mara's big chart up, and I wouldn't have said it probably in October because you were talking about Bitcoin going to 100K back then. But
Yeah.
we've seen that now. We've seen that scene, and I don't think Mara touches $50 ever again. It's just not going to happen.
No,
And if they
no.
do, it's because it's after a reverse split. Um,
Yeah.
so waiting for oversold, trading off a level, quick pops on news, using the commodity, all that stuff's kind of back in play. And if you've been here long enough, um, you've seen that before, and those conversations were, well, we got this at 650p, and we took it to 17. Where do we buy again? And you just kind of
Yeah.
have to go back through that in your head, um, to be successful. So I mean, we're getting
So
there, and we talked about it last week, and I think we're just going to refine that. Um, but it's defining the tradable range and realistic goals for me. Um, that that's gonna that's gonna make that tradable. If not, if you have I need 25%, and I like to swing, and I don't want to monitor my positions because I got to work all the Tuesday. Stay out of crypto.
yeah, no, absolutely. So I real quick on MSTR that my sort of I ended up selling everything I had in it on the second tap at 370. I didn't want to, but I did. I'm glad I did. Um, you kind of see where it is now. Now these pivots, I got way too many of them, but these are actually pre-split
Mm-hmm.
pivots that have
Yeah,
been
yeah,
revisited, right? And so we're setting up, but I just I kind of just wanted to just sort of say that my lowest one is here at 274, and we were in a completely different kind of thing, back when it was under here. So this one, massive volatility, but you have to understand the IV on the options reflects that. So you need MSTR, like it had the 6% move, which was great for the short expiration stuff and all that. But you need moves like that, at least 3% every single day if you're going to trade that, because that's how the options
yeah.
are built, and that is not the kind of setup that we're talking about with kind of the safe sort of oversold thing. I mean, if you want to buy shares of MSTR, I guess you can play the same kind of percentages, but yeah, I mean, I want people to cut sort of on the option side, understand that the math in the behind those options reflects that these stocks move huge, and so you definitely cannot try to swing puts on MSTR at like 150 or 100 and think you're going to make any money. It's just not going to happen. So, or even half that. Just be really careful as far as that goes.
I like your chart, this comparison, because you could tell that you day trade options, and then mine from
Yeah, yeah.
more of a historical. I don't really even trade this stock.
Right, right. Yeah,
It's just big picture,
yeah.
little picture, there,
Yeah.
and which one was I gonna ask? Oh yeah, just to show people that it's not probably sector related. Um, I'm gonna pull up MDB real quick, and I want you to pull up MDB real quick.
Yeah.
Oh, that's not as bad as I thought. Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
but but yeah, yeah, just that's one of the best things about us is we look at it from completely different angles, and when it lines up it's good. But um knowing how you trade, um if that fits other people's style, I would follow it. And knowing how I trade, if that fits your style, I would follow it. And you can't cross streams. Like, well, I like to trade like Unk, and Professor likes MSTR like this, or Coin. Coin's a great.
Yeah,
I like
right.
Coin. I traded Coin. I did trade Coin. I just don't trade Coin after our levels until we establish something, because 200 is not shit. Um, but yeah, I think that's a just a something I noticed there that I don't think people quite catch. So
Yeah,
it's why it's better when we line up both. Someone asked last week, what's the difference between the gray checks and the green checks? Well, Professor's my partner, so if I think it's good for, I know his style. If I think it's good for him, I'm gonna let him know, and that's what that is. And when it's good for both
yeah,
sides, I'm gonna let people know. But I don't want to ever talk you out of a trade or someone else out of a trade that fits your style, and that's why we're gonna cover 50 stocks in the next session because
yeah.
because Pele has a different style, Goose has a different style, Vegan has a different style. Um, Carlos is working on a different style, so I'm all for
Yeah,
people.
yeah. Well, and I will say this too that and I hope people do this. I've got my section and my notes, and I post some memes here and there, but I'll do these things every day, and like snow, that was a great one,
Mm-hmm.
and this one lines up for both of us. So this is one where the day trade's there, the longer trade is there, and those tend to be, if you want to trade my style, the ones that align like that are probably the best ones to go for. And the simpler the note for me, usually the better. Like Coin, this was a little bit complicated. Trading attempted a rally today. That did happen, but I was still mindful of downside. I still hedged, so that's kind of grad school stuff. Whereas some of them, well, I mean, here low and HD calls, like that's a pretty simple note. But I want to just people to know too that I spend a lot of time here, and I buy. I pay close attention to what's going on in here, and there aren't a ton of like individual tickers that get posted like, "Hey, grab this one." But when they do, I'm on it. So
Oh,
I try to follow what's going on there too.
my
Get
main
people's.
reason for that, P, is I don't like the after the fact questions. Like you posted
Yeah,
this, that's not what I'm here for. I'm here to build traders. Like it's not
right.
alerts. You can. I'm here for more for people to say, hey, I'm looking at this ticker right now, and I'll show you my level. I'll tell you what I would do. I'd give you my plan on how I would trade that. Or I'll just tell you, no, that's a bad idea. And that's more what I'm
Right.
here for, is for you to do a little bit of work, for you to already have a plan, and for me to tell you, to consult you, so to speak, on that plan, let you know how I would handle it. So if you're quiet, I'm quiet. If you got a shovel
Yeah.
in your hand and you dig a scoop, I'm gonna dig a scoop with you. And I don't say that enough, but since our start, since I got into a room where a guy basically came in at 1 fucking o'clock and said low calls and puts to everybody in one of the worst markets, and I watched people get destroyed. I said I'm never
Yeah.
doing that. I'm never doing that. I'm gonna teach
Yeah.
people skills or I'm out. I'm not an alert service. I don't want to be that guy. I don't want to post gains. I don't want to do that. I want to grind with people, teach them some skills so they can fish for themselves. And I'll die on that hill. I don't need subs. Unless I'm going to
Yeah.
Palm Springs, then I like to have a nice dinner, so please sub. But other than that, like, yeah, I just don't see. I'd rather have the conversation, and from that's where I fail as like from the teaching standpoint, because I don't reiterate that once a month or probably even every other week that that's what we need to be doing. I just said it in the beginning and assume everybody wrote it down and learned it. Um,
Yeah.
but the ones that do, just the like, I hate to lean on my boy Carlos, but just a casual conversation with him. Like we were just talking a few weeks ago, and I was like, man, I'm selling Tesla here, and he didn't really shrug it off, but he was like, huh, that's interesting. Well, in the great words of Joe Biden, son of a bitch.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, it just fell off, and I think that's a better learning experience, and a better for traders than just saying, hey, trade this today. Because if I'm sick or I'm golfing, you ain't got to trade. You ain't gonna have a
Yeah.
trade, and that's what I want to do. I want to get Budweiser at 46. I want to get gold at 15, low 15s, and go golfing. And even in these conditions, still be fine.
Yeah.
Bud's going. I mean, I just got a read for Bud going. I think it was $90. We're getting through volume profile here. I'm nothing but green candles in this shitty ass market. That's
Well,
I
it's,
would I would rather be in those kind of plays, and I'm pissed at myself for missing like Philip Morris and Mo. But you know what? All you need is one with a good thesis, proper sizing, and it'll make your week. So if you can make a
yeah,
week, if you can make a
I
week on one trade, you can make a month on four, and that's just how
exactly.
that's how it works for me. Um, so yeah, I'm more about building the person. Sorry for the rant, but I'm more about building the person than saying I'm some shot caller alert dude. Like it's just not. That's not who I'm. That's not what I'm about.
Exactly. Yeah, and I think like for me, the notes they're the conditions in which I will trade something rather than a specific contract at a specific time. Because
Mm-hmm.
what I learned with that was I did that, and the win rate was very good, but people were still losing on it
Yes.
because
Yes.
they waited. They waited to. I'm going to wait and see if this takes off. Oh shit,
Yes.
it works, and then they're 3/4 of the way into the move when they buy the thing, and then they're like, "Are we still holding?" M calls that had went up 200%, and now are down 40%, and I'm like, holy shit! When did you? What the hell happened? So I think people who want to step into options, there's a lot of help I can give you. I can't press the button, so I'm not going to try to press the button.
Yeah, and you're
Now,
you're you're not gonna learn the the stuff that's really important. Like, all right, how much time do I have, and how do I need to trade with that time? I mean, that's one of the number
yeah,
one things, and I think that's where that happens. Is well, I can't be at the market at 6. I had a meeting till 9, and then I'd seen the note and I got in, and it's like, well, you missed the trade, especially
yeah,
from
like
that
holding
option.
a weekly through a 2 hour business meeting. I mean, I can't even. I can't even fathom that. No,
Yeah,
that's not going to happen.
100%.
Um, I will say with the tobacco stocks, had an advantage there that I sort of into that world. So I smoke cigars and all that. So I was
Yeah.
had a little more there. But I think you actually commented on this, and I wanted to. We can talk spy a minute if we want to, but one of the big ideas was kind of the return of beer, tobacco, and I went ahead and threw in casinos and
Mm-hmm.
resorts and things like
Mm-hmm.
that. And just wanted to get your thoughts on that. And we've seen Budweiser's a good example, kind of the beginnings of that, and I think others will follow as we go forward.
Over what you mean? Just casinos or the whole picture?
Yeah, no, I mean just the I guess the overall culturally
Oh
and how that's
well,
relating to the
well, people are
stocks.
spending. I mean, if everything I just said, interest rates are high, Trump's sitting on his hands. If that's the where we are, people are spending less money. I mean, you're gonna throw a backyard barbecue, get some cigars and some beer with your friends.
Yeah,
Um, Sports betting, I think, is the big angle on the casinos doing well. Vegas would be also the cheapest, best ROI for vacations is versus going to like Hawaii or something like that. So
yeah,
I mean, you don't really turn Vegas off. Um, but yeah, I mean, it's people are still gonna want to have fun, um, and I think the stay at home fun is kind of part of that thesis. Like, oh, well, we can't do nothing this weekend. Let's just go get some beer. Well, I can't buy that $20 12 pack of IPAs that I like, so let's buy this
yeah,
Budweiser for $16. And um, the other part of that is they're set up. People talk about Coke and Pepsi, like they're not going away. They put that stuff in a can for like a penny, Like their cost is nothing, and their
Right.
distribution is already set up, so they can take a little bit more of hits where your little guy, what up Tilray, can't really take that hit.
Well,
They're
I've
just not set
I've
up
noticed
for
it
it.
too with so all the a few years ago when the zero interest rate phenomenon, the ZERP thing, a lot of these like craft beer places opened up around here. Old industrial part of town.
Hell yeah.
With a bunch of factories and stuff, and like they kind of like rebuilt and did all that. Lot of them are struggling. A lot of them had their own bars and things, and now they just distribute to the local bars. They still make the beer, but they don't have the bar anymore. Whereas your happy hour at Chili's and Applebee's and shit like that is packed. I
Yes.
work by an Air Force base, and that whole row of restaurants right there, and you're right across from the runways at Tinker Air Force Base. Like all those places are packed from 3 to 7, and then you get like a secondary crowd in or karaoke or shit like that. So yeah, I mean all that stuff's done well. Not a coincidence. Eat the stock for Chili's has been kind of through the roof. A lot of those restaurants, I do think are going to do pretty well,
Yes.
and will kind of lead the recovery as far as that goes. So yeah, so that's kind of my big cultural thesis. I'm sort of down on metaverse helmets and virtual shit like
Is
that
that still a
still.
thing?
Um, More, but yeah, exactly right. So I'm more about the people paying for experiences on the cheap, and that's where I'm at. And with retail, where that reflects, I talked to Goose about this. I like high end luxury type stuff for stocks, and I like dollar stores.
Hmm.
And the pressure is going to be, how the ones in the middle handle
Yes.
things. And I think like target earnings is pretty huge for a barometer on the middle class. So we'll see kind of how that goes. But people are looking to save money, and um, I think we can trade off of that.
Quick point on the beer angle. Same thing out here, man. Like, yeah, through the zero interest or whatever. I never really equated it to that, but you're totally right. Um, yeah, we had pop up breweries every. I mean, they had trouble naming the damn things because
Yeah,
the names would get taken so quick. And up here, we're definitely a thick beer culture, and through my soccer supporter groups, that's where they kind of have their local meetings or their away viewings at, or are at local companies, because that's a thing out here where we're still kind of that old school libertarian for the most part,
yeah,
where you support local. Well, there's only two things that I've seen happen to like 40, 50 names, and that's either like the group that I belong to locally. We've been through four different ones in the past 3 years because they go out of business, or they have changed business names because someone
yeah,
bought them out. Um, the ones that were good, like the ones that were thriving that people would know about, Red Hook would be a great example. Budweiser or the bigger distributors, or somebody buys them. They don't make it
yeah.
themselves. And the reason I'm saying that is because you kind of got to know the industry sector. Now, restaurants on the other side, McDonald's ain't buying Chipotle. That's not happening. Like, so you're
Yeah.
better off in the new and upcoming names in restaurants. Cava,
Well, that's a
PTLO.
funny example because did you know they used to own Chipotle and they
Who?
fumbled the bag on it?
McDonald's?
McDonald's,
No, I did not
when they
know
first
that.
started.
That's
Yeah,
interesting.
when they first started and they bailed on it, and then then it took off. So
But yeah, you're
it's
better in
kind
that those kind of growth names because they're going to steal market share. Where a sector like beer,
yeah,
they're just going to anybody comes close to them, and we might see it with Celsius. They're just gonna absorb them. So I'd be mindful of kind of like how the sector works, so to speak, for
yeah.
growth names versus the big fish, Coke, Pepsi, and Budweiser are probably just going to win no matter what happens.
Yeah, the craft beer, you're not going to get a bucket of long necks of that. as a special or something. So,
No.
so I think that's what people are going to be after.
So quick rotation of SPY here.
Oh
610,
yeah, sure.
580. Or anything else you got to say about that? That's about all I got.
Uh, let me just check the OI on some stuff. Yeah, it's 580 March, 590 March. But it's mixed. So those contracts are out there, and they can manipulate some things through that and through futures or whatever. But there's no upside targets in options. That's not how it's going to work when this gets going. But yeah, I mean we're not in a bear market, but the ferocious rallies, and that's what the whole 3-2 market is. It's three down, two up, or three up, two down, and the down in SPY might be 0.7%, the up might be 1.5% the next day. Can't swing options in that, but there's a lot of opportunity. So I think you can still use SPY as a barometer, but trading this right now is not for amateurs. I'd be real careful about it.
Most important thing for me there is 50 SMA on the day. I mean, you go back to you can almost go a year back. We're just following that, which it's flattening a little bit, but still the chart's very respectful and said it a million times. I need to say other stuff as much as I say this, but your old Warren Buffett guys that are probably wearing diapers right now that have been trading on their luxury yacht with 320-year-olds. Those guys, they trade off the 50 and the 200, and they ain't gonna change because that's how they got on the yacht with 320-year-olds. So,
yeah. Yeah, and I think one thing I encourage people to do is to if you're gonna stare at charts for hours and hours, learn to recognize the mechanical buying, the algorithmic trading, because those algorithms are programmed on the averages that you talk about. So that's something that you want to get to. And I mean, I have my own little algo I have tagged in TradingView. Every time I post a chart, people ask me about it.
Yeah.
But I mean, they do work pretty well. But there's a lot of kind of false hits too, and you can look at this and say, like, well, on this day, oh man, look at that sell signal, make bank there. Well, yeah, but like as it's happening during the day, what about that one? I mean, you just get washed around, and if you're in options, this just kills you. So, so it's not it's not some panacea, but pretty good indicator on the larger time frames for me. And for me, it's more about getting out than getting in. I know when I want to get into something, but I look for the signal to get out, and that's how I do RSI. That's how I do anything with TA. Is just to I care more about the exit. I know the entry is going to be good, so I just want to get out.
That's the one thing. Last point for me. That's the one thing that drives me fucking nuts on Twitter. Is you get some guy that can barely fucking shave telling you, well, all you got to do is wait for this and then if RSI's here and then the 5 minutes above VWAP, that's your in.
Yeah.
I mean, it might work, but nothing is perfect, and you're just looking for things that work 8 out of 10 times, 7 out of 10 times. Keep that ratio good, and you're better off developing that yourself versus following someone else, because how they trade, what they read,
right,
isn't how you trade and what you read. So.
Yep.
Perfect. You ready to get to work, P?
Yeah. I'll grab a coffee refill and have at it.
Perfect. Like and subscribe, people. Link somewhere.